Now we are in the month of September, a month that brings with it a plethora of newness. And in fact, on Thursday, the 5th of September 2019, this date will mark the birth of a groundbreaking new initiative on South Africa's cultural scene with the launch of the Ubuntu Opera Company. And here to tell us a bit more about it, choral director and vocal coach Juan Burgers. Great to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me.
This is an exciting time, isn't it?
Yes, nerve-wracking, but exciting nonetheless.
But let's tell South Africans and everyone else watching about why this Ubuntu Opera Company needs to exist, what motivated it, and what exactly it stands for.
Yes, the word Ubuntu, we're all familiar with. Everybody that I talk to, whether they are from South Africa or not, they know what Ubuntu is. And it is about that we are defined by each other, you know, and that we are actually whole, but as a person, a wholeness, you know, that concept of wholeness, the theory of wholeness. But together we are, the sum of the parts is greater than the whole.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, you know, I've been involved in opera now for about 55 years. I went to my first rehearsal with my mom in 1964 with the start of opera in South Africa, the formal start, you know. And I have been very lucky to be an observer, the fly on the wall kind of thing, because I had to behave and shut up, you know, at the rehearsals and take in what I needed to.
Yes.
And I knew from my first rehearsal that this was what I was totally attracted to. But in my observation, fly on the wall syndrome, because I've been lucky of being to be able to be a fly on the wall as well as the doer, you know, the witness and the doer. And I've noticed that somehow in this whole chain of events when opera gets presented, somehow the singer is the most disenfranchised in this whole chain of events, because, you know, opera is a larger-than-life art form, and it also is actually rather expensive because your orchestra costs one heck of a lot of money. Your theatre does, theatre venues, rehearsal venues, and when you add it all up, and then, of course, as Wagner said, it's Gesamtkunst, it's all the arts thrown into one, you know. But for me, the thing is, we are defined by each other, and we're not islands, and therefore I want to put the singer on the forefront of an opera company.
But especially from a South African context, and understanding that a lot of our singers are world-class, yet after they've qualified here on South African soil, they now need to go abroad in order to form their lives and their careers in an art form that they've dedicated themselves to. So I guess that was part of the greater motivation.
Yes, that is, you know, because we have a virtually defunct operatic industry in this country. And it's only the Western Cape that seems to be keeping the pot boiling. And we also have perhaps one of the best opera schools in the world, UCT Opera School, which has been going since 1947, if I'm not mistaken. And they've worked hand in hand, you know, the education works hand in hand with the actual the matter of performing. And so it's a very good place to have them. And we literally have thousands of trained singers in this country with nowhere to go. You know, they've studied, and they've done even postgraduate, because our singers get offered wonderful bursaries overseas, but then you have to leave home in order to make good for you on that. And not everybody has the will to withstand the Northern Hemisphere climate, which is not as lovely as Mzansi.
Absolutely not. And so with that, this company that's come around, called the Ubuntu Opera Company, will be helping South African opera singers create a life for themselves at home. You'll be trying to produce more South African indigenous operas and give them work right here. And that all starts on the 5th of September with the Ubuntu Opera Company's charity fundraiser. Give us a quick little short bit on what that concert is all about, what people can expect.
Okay, so that will be at Christchurch here in Constantia, close by, 7:30. It's a lovely venue. It's a beautiful stone church with lovely acoustics and fabulous grand piano. And so the first half, which will be quite short and brief, will be just general extracts I have 6 singers. Each of them will show their goods. As it were, from traditional opera. And then the second half, after the interval, they will all be showcasing as well of course, their talents, but they will be doing extracts from the opera Ubuntu. And Ubuntu, the opera, is about the struggle, bringing it and using the life of Nelson Mandela and Winnie Mandela as the main protagonists, chief protagonists of the struggle per se, and their marriage was to each other as well as the struggle somehow. And looking at the thing, when I started composing it, I didn't want to have 2 hours of politics because, you know, it could become a little bit sort of trying. And so I looked and realized that the 11 accused in the Rivonia trial were men of high consciousness, especially the ones who said the most, you know, and they were very poetic in nature, and so I strove for the beauty of the
And just to think about that story being told in operatic music is absolutely beautiful, and we are proud to have you here and some of the cast members here joining us, so make sure that you don't miss out on that performance coming up shortly on your Feel Good Breakfast show.